Los Angeles, 2017. Lisa handed me a glass of water. I'm really proud of the work you've done in our last few sessions, Spencer. She opened her notebook and met my gaze. Let's jump back into where we last ended. The incident that brought you to me. Can you tell me more about that? I inhaled sharply as I prepared myself to relive it. Well, I saw Hunter for the first time since he dumped me on Christmas a year ago. I paused. As you know, after 4 years of repeatedly dumping me and lying to me, I promised myself I would never let him back into my life. I was so pathetic. But there I was at a bar with him acting like how he treated me was okay. Lisa tilted her head slightly. What was the deciding factor in agreeing to see him? Honestly, I'd lost a ton of weight and I wanted to get all dolled up and make him realize what he was missing. I wanted to seduce him, get him begging for it, and then deny him. I really believed I could resist him. I shook my head, ashamed. But being near him activated everything I'd spent so much time trying to bury. I allowed myself to admit the rest. I guess I also just missed him. Lisa nodded, her expression soft. How did seeing Hunter make you feel? I let out a bitter laugh, like I was being torn in half. She waited, letting me find the words. It made me feel everything. My body wanted him. My mind hated him. I shook my head. We spent 48 hours in a hotel together. I sighed. You can imagine how wild it got after all that time. Lisa nodded, making notes on her yellow legal pad. I continued. I'm here because I somehow convinced myself that those 2 days together meant something, like an idiot. He texted me a few days later telling me he couldn't get me out of his head. Tears stung the corners of my eyes. Until a few days later, I ran into his roommates, and you know what they told me? I could barely choke out the words. That Hunter's had a girlfriend for a year and a few months. Lisa stayed silent, watching me closely. They were only in town because Hunter was introducing her to his family. My voice cracked. Which means not only did he cheat on me with her before we broke up for months, but now he turned me into his mistress. The words felt like acid. I loathed cheaters, and he made me into one without my consent. Lisa handed me the tissue box. It's okay to let yourself fully emote here, Spencer, she said gently. No one can hear you. You're safe. I had gotten better at crying during breath work, but that was eyes closed and music blasting. This was still too vulnerable. I held the tissue box in my lap without grabbing one. I don't understand why I do this to myself. Why do I keep going back? Why can't I let Hunter go? I hesitated, terrified to say what I was thinking. Go on. This is a judgment-free zone, Lisa said. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Why is losing Hunter harder than my dad dying? Self-loathing flooded me the second the confession left my mouth. Lisa softened. We haven't talked much about your father's passing. Would it be okay if we did? I sniffed and nodded. How long has it been since he transitioned? 7 years. Lisa tread lightly. Was it expected or sudden? It was out of nowhere when I was home for Thanksgiving my freshman year of college. I hated remembering it. Experiencing an unexpected loss of that proportion at such a young age must have been very, very difficult, Lisa said gently. Have you grieved your father, Spencer? I shrugged. If blacked out crying counts, sure. Lisa studied me, then leaned forward slightly. Let me ask you a question. How did your dad make you feel? My mouth stayed closed. How did he make me feel? After a long pause, I spoke. I guess when he paid attention to me, It felt like the sun shining after months of rain. In those rare moments, I knew he loved me more than anything in the entire world. And when he didn't notice me, which felt like most of the time, it felt like an endless drought, and I doubted that he ever loved me at all. Lisa nodded, encouraging me to keep going. The contrast of the two was jarring. He was my hero, but I also hated him a lot. I tried to be the best at everything I did to make him proud of me. My eyes searched the room, grasping for what Dad's love had felt like. It had been so long, I could barely remember. Everyone loved him, which made me proud to be his, but it also took his attention away from me. So eventually I resented how much he shone on others instead of me, especially my brother. Then, in a blink, he was gone. No chance left to fix what was broken between us. Lisa sat with the words for a moment before speaking again. Thank you for sharing that with me, Spencer. I can see how painful that is. She paused. Now let me ask you another question. How does Hunter make you feel? Tension coiled in my broken heart. I shifted in my seat. He made me feel invisible when our friends were around. But behind closed doors, he adored me. Truly, he did. No one saw it, but he did. It was so confusing. I picked up the glass of water and took a sip. My acting teacher would call this creative hiding. I tried so hard to be the perfect girlfriend so he wouldn't leave me. But he did. He promised me forever, and then out of nowhere, he was gone. A tear broke free, rolling hot down my cheek. Lisa paused with a deep breath. I want to gently point out something here, Spencer. Do you see the similarities between how they make you feel? I listened. Hunter makes you feel the same way your father did. I stared at her. You subconsciously attracted a partner whose love made you feel the same way your father's did. I felt reality tilt beneath me. Lisa held my gaze. You asked why losing Hunter is harder than losing your father. Spencer, losing Hunter is losing your father. The gravity of what she said crashed over me. You lost your father in one of the most vulnerable times in your life. Only 18 years old, in a brand new city, with all new people. Your survival mechanism was to pretend it didn't happen, to put it in a box and bury it deep without dealing with it. When you blacked out, the box sprung open with damaging force. But you haven't really let yourself grieve losing your father. Lisa's voice softened even further. Your powerful mind is still so desperate for your father's love, so you unknowingly manifested Hunter, a partner who loved you the same way. This is common after trauma. It's our brain's way of seeking closure. Because if you could get Hunter to love you, to stay, it would prove to your subconscious that your father loves you. Tears poured like a dam that burst after decades of holding the water at bay. Lisa sat beside me on the couch, pulled out a tissue, and handed it to me. This time, I took it and buried my face into it. This is known as trauma bonding, she said. It's incredibly common with people with unprocessed grief. Without awareness, many cycle through the same type of partner over and over with no idea what's going on. She smiled at me. But with awareness and work, the courageous ones break the cycle and never experience a relationship like that again. My face was wet with realization. I felt relief. It wasn't my fault. A knowing, deep and absolute, settled in my bones. I looked up at Lisa, the words forming in my chest before I even spoke them. I will be one of the courageous ones. My voice didn't waver. I never want to experience this kind of love again. Lisa smiled. That is very good news, Spencer. Goosebumps covered my body. This was just the beginning of my story. It was never about Hunter. The love I longed for was the love of my father. It was always him.